I really care deeply about bringing people together for a focused purpose. I'm endlessly fascinated by the details of how things work. I also see beauty in places that other people don't. It's the connections with people that mean more. Like you find someone you like and you support them in whatever they're doing. I'm a bridge between people that don't know anything about technology and the technology itself. I
For
want to
those,
improve
yeah.
the internet
Right.
experience for the
Oh,
world.
welcome to the Differentiation Podcast. My name is Michelle Sorgaroli. I'm your host, and today we are being joined by Suzanne Rushton. Suzanne is a lifelong entrepreneur, and she refers to herself as a mistress of transformation. She founded Digital Optimist, an SEO and website development agency, so that she could split her time equally between adventure and laptop. I love that. She's passionate about people, technology, and business. And her latest bold move was 6,000 kilometers across Canada, where she now runs her agency from an historic home, which we can see in her beautiful background in rural Nova Scotia. Thank you so much for joining us, Suzanne. It's a delight to have you here today.
I'm so happy to be here, Michelle. Thank you for the beautiful intro.
You're so welcome. This has been fun. So, Suzanne and I have apparently met some time ago, and neither of us knows where or when, but her business card just magically showed up on my desk the other day in one of my, piles of business cards. And I thought, oh, so here we sit. And I'm very, very much looking forward to getting to know you again, Suzanne, as we figure out where the heck that business card came from.
I know. We'll figure it out. I'm
We will
confident.
figure it out. It's awesome. Alrighty, so just getting to re-know you a little bit. I do get the sense you're a storyteller, so I think we're going to have some fun today. That being said, looking back on your history, I went into LinkedIn and I sort of took a peek and I thought, okay, this is really curious because it appears that one of your earliest career experiences was as a petroleum technician,
You
which
went way back in the archives.
I went way back. I'm thinking, okay, how did
Wow.
we go from a
Really?
petroleum technician? Now you're a lifelong entrepreneur, which we know, and so you've done a ton of different businesses, and you've been so petroleum technician, fitness trainer, you did sugar packaging
Yeah,
and
that's a bit
distribution.
random. There
You
is a
did
thread, I'm sure.
photo guided tours and then wellness retreats and photography, and here we are with SEO and website. Tell us about this earlier stint in petroleum. Like how did that happen and why?
I would
Super
love to.
curious.
I'm from Alberta originally,
Okay.
so it's heavily immersed in oil. I think almost
Yeah.
everybody that lives in Alberta has something to do with the oil industry.
Yeah.
And what happened was when I was 21, I was in Australia with a boyfriend of mine, and it was time to go to school. And I was considering two options. One was petroleum engineering technology, and the other one was broadcasting.
Oh, good
Now,
heavens.
I
They're very
suspect I would
different.
have made a much better broadcaster. I wanted to be the host of a travel show.
Oh, wow.
And, but they required an entrance essay that I didn't want to write while I was 22 and in Australia. So I applied to petroleum engineering technology, got in, came back, did the course, and I really excelled in that. It was a very focused education. If you know anything about
Interesting.
in technology institutions, they're very focused, and I thrive in a focused environment. I don't create them myself, but if they're imposed on me, they're very good.
Hmm.
And so
Interesting.
after school, I got a job working in fracking, if anybody from Alberta knows what that is. But the beauty of that, the thread is that while I was at that school, I became heavily involved in the student society. So I was the president, and I would bring people together and host industry student meetups so that there could be meetings for work
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
opportunities and education opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that, and I did really well in school, and I was really fit. It was a highly productive period of time in my life.
I love that.
And I loved the technology too. And I loved being like a woman in the industry. I think
Oh,
there weren't many women in petroleum technology at the time. Like there were six women out
yeah.
of maybe 150 students.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
What was it about the technology that captured your attention and inspiration?
Well, when I was in high school, I wanted to be an engineer. So I really love knowing how things work. And I really love the details and intricacies of everything, like materials and, liquids and nature and geography. Like I really love the sciences. And so with the petroleum engineering technology program, you heavily
Mm,
focus, of course, on, geology. I
yeah.
focused on geology and reservoir. And so it involves fluid mechanics and, temperature and pressure and the details of the earth.
Wow. And so, yeah, I can see you lighting up when you're talking about it.
I
So,
love
so
it.
I can see that. I
Yes.
love that. So curious. So this piece around the technology, loving the sciences, loving how things work. So what happened that caused you to leave or change and pivot? Because you didn't stay with that.
No, I didn't. I stayed. I was there. So I was 24 when I graduated. I went to Grand Prairie, which is 5 hours northwest of Edmonton. And it was in the middle of nowhere. And I was working with all men for a company called Halliburton. And it was not a good experience.
Mm,
Uh, Maybe the details aren't that important, but it I did not feel valued. I did not enjoy the people I worked with, and but I loved the job. Like I loved the actual it, calculating of what the temperature and pressure of the how we were going to extract the oil from the formation
ah,
part. I loved, but I didn't have a good time with the people.
mhm.
And my parents, meanwhile, had moved to Abbotsford,
Okay.
and at one point, I came to visit them. Like I was making a lot of money,
Right.
and I also had a lot of time off.
And
And so
Abbotsford's in BC and
Abbotsford's in
closer to
BC,
Vancouver.
close to
Yeah.
Vancouver. I had never lived in Vancouver at that time. And so I went to visit my parents in Abbotsford, absolutely fell in love with the landscape,
Mhm.
and came back to Grand Prairie and quit my job with no plan and moved to Vancouver.
Okay. So
So,
up at that point, so you'd been in the petroleum industry and then you'd moved
right.
into working with Halliburton and doing the more it sounds like geological type work with them, was
Yes,
it?
I was a chemical technician
Oh
for
my gosh. Okay.
Halliburton.
All right.
So my job was calculating, you know, do you know anything about fracking?
I do. I happen to be married to a chemical scientist.
Okay, so you know that each
Yeah.
formation is different and each well is different.
Yeah.
And so my job was to calculate what we needed to put into the machine, the gels and stuff, and when
Mm,
they were going to break and how long they were going to stay unbroken for,
hmm.
in order to extract the oil. And so that was my job, was creating
Interesting.
all of those calculations. I think AI would do it now, but
Probably. Hey. Yeah, it's interesting. Hey, it's interesting where that's going. That's a whole different angle, though.
that's a different
Okay.
angle.
So you've mentioned a couple of times, you've mentioned people, and
Yes.
you've said you have a passion for people. And what I'm hearing is even in your studies, you were involved in the student society and you hosted meetups. And so people have always been a big part of your journey, as what I'm sensing. What is it about when you're trying to bring people together? I'm hearing the people, the community, that's a theme I'm getting. What is it about that that's really inspiring to you when you're bringing people together like that?
Well, I am an only child. And
Ah,
so I think that
interesting.
I have always had to create a community around me. My family is very small, and I learned to do that, I think, from a young age. And I'm good at bringing people together, and I enjoy facilitating meetings. So you went through my list
Mm-hmm.
of
Mm-hmm.
activities, and one of them is a retreat.
Yeah.
And I really care deeply about bringing people together for a focused purpose.
Now there's that focus again.
The focus, yes,
Hmm.
and I also like things that are a little bit temporal. So, for example, the student society, it was only while I was a student, and the focus purpose was industry student liaising for the
Hmm.
purpose of them meeting industry
Hmm.
people so that they could get jobs later, or scholarships or that kind of thing.
Okay.
And so yeah, so it's always been important to me because I don't know, people are important. They're in the world. One
What
must
makes you say
interact with
that?
them.
everybody has a lot of people say that, but everybody has a little bit of a different reason. What is it about for you?
I'm trying to answer. I'm not sure if I should answer with the today Suzanne or the 25 years ago Suzanne.
Whichever you like.
I have come to learn that community is a pillar of my life. I mean, I guess maybe most
Mm,
people. I don't have a family,
mm,
and so I have to create my family.
okay.
And so I have spent my life doing that.
Yeah. And so that's Suzanne today that's answering, is that right?
That is Suzanne today.
Okay. So tell me about Suzanne, the younger version. What might her answer have been?
I
How would it
think
have
it
been
was a
different?
survival mechanism, like particularly up north when I went to work for the
Mm,
fracking people. Like I left my people, and I'm
hmm.
generally good at meeting people and creating community when I just moved to Nova Scotia, and I have a community here now, or I'm still building it, but it's it's
Yeah.
coming together. But when I went up north, the people were not receptive
Mm,
to being in a community. Like they weren't friendly or welcoming or
mm.
anything. And so I was hitting walls everywhere I went, and I found that to be challenging.
Yeah, I would
So
imagine.
that's why anything would have been better than that. Like I can function in many different environments, but not
Mm-hmm.
that one. But I
Mm-hmm.
think when I came back to Vancouver, when I moved to Vancouver after that, um, I was a little bit lost. I didn't have a job, and
Yeah.
I don't know if you know much about Vancouver and petroleum, but there's not a lot
Not a
of
lot.
petroleum stuff going on.
Yeah. No, not here.
No, and it's funny. So actually, you
Mm,
asked about earlier, Suzanne, and I've given this a lot of thought over the years. I think if I had had some kind of mentor, and so
mm,
now I'm a huge advocate for mentorship, but I didn't have one, or maybe I didn't listen to them. I should have probably gone back to Calgary. Like I spend a lot of time thinking that rather than abandoning the
mm-hmm,
entire
mm-hmm.
profession, it would have been smarter to go back to Calgary and work in the office. My angle with taking that job in the field in the first place was
Mm-hmm.
to get field experience. I mean, if you come
Right.
back to the city and work in the tower after you've had field experience, you're more valuable than if you just went from school to the office building. So that was
Mm-hmm.
my angle. But instead of doing that, I thought at the time that 3 months at a job looked bad, and
Right.
I was embarrassed to come back to the city and admit defeat.
Right.
So
Well,
I ran away.
and you know what? And to be fair, at that time, 3 months in a job probably did look bad, although it looks less bad today.
Hmm.
Right.
Knowing what I know now, I would have advised myself to do it anyway and just be
Mm,
honest and tell the story because people would understand that. But
yeah.
at the time, I was ashamed,
Right.
and
That
I
would have
let
been
that shame
mm,
propel
guide
me
you.
into a different
Yeah.
city,
And
to a
yeah.
different life altogether.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And what do you think you were avoiding there? Because shame's, everybody has a story.
I don't think I knew that.
Mm,
I think I had put expectations
hmm.
on
Hmm.
myself.
Hmm. Mm,
I'm used to accomplishing things that I set out to do.
hmm.
And so I wasn't pleased with the fact that I didn't make it. And
So you're,
I'm not
yeah,
proud, but I let it take me to another city. I
right.
also fell in love with Vancouver, and there was a lot of possibility there. So I didn't spend a lot of time moping in
Hmm.
regret.
Hmm.
But over as the years went on and I realized that I did do very
Mm,
well in that program, and I could have had a whole life and path on that,
right.
in that
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah.
Um, I have spent a
That's
bit of time reflecting on that.
hmm. Well, it's an interesting one because, you started the conversation with this at this crossroads between being studying petroleum engineering and broadcasting. And that
Right.
was right. And that just popped for me right away. But of course,
Yeah.
because of course you were looking at I wrote hosting of a travel, and then I lost the word.
Like a travel blog.
A
I
blogger.
remember, well, there weren't blogs back then, but
No,
like an
journalist or something.
adventure show.
Okay. Yeah. So you wanted to do something like that. So interesting as we pivot now and move into the present day, in that, I'm just fascinated by this because at the time you took the fork towards the petroleum and the technological engineering, the focused environment around the sciences rather, all those things that you loved.
Hmm.
And yet you also had this other fork that
Hmm.
has it appears to me from where I'm sitting, the very little that I know, it appears that that side is sort of bubbling up now.
I think it has to. I mean, I took the path, what is it? The path, not less chosen, the easier path. I mean, I didn't want to write an essay
Yeah,
when I was
yeah,
21
yeah,
on a work exchange in Australia. I mean, that's why I didn't apply to the
right.
broadcasting
And
program.
yet, look what that foundation's given. Like as you think about the intersection. I'm just so curious here because think about the intersection of broadcasting and engineering.
Mm,
The intersection of those two, travel, hosting a travel blog, if you will,
hmm.
and engineering, the technological side, the technology side of that,
Hmm.
and that kind of work and the sciences and whatnot, and the discipline required in that thinking and that approach is so different. The science, that scientific approach has a very different approach to broadcasting, blogging, travel, hosting, that kind
Yeah,
of thing.
I suppose.
And yet they're both very prominent in your life today.
I mean, I could see myself. I mean, I'm very inspired by you,
Oh,
interviewing
thank you.
people. Like I would love to have a podcast or a travel show even today where I'm interviewing engineers about their projects around the world. I mean, I'm
Mm,
endlessly fascinated by the details of how things work.
right. You're
So,
endlessly fascinated by the details of how things work. Tell us about, I'm sitting with this with just fascination. So there were some times around you had photography, and that's a big part of your life still today. And now you're in SEO and
hmm,
website development.
right.
And we've got this piece around the visual storytelling, if you will, through photography, which I know is a big part of your world, and
Yeah.
also SEO and website development, how things work, feels
Yes.
like to me.
Yes.
Share a little bit about your journey today or your life today and what that looks like.
Yeah, today is an interesting one because I essentially had to migrate my whole photography career and
Hmm.
sort of transition it over to websites and SEO. And the reason I did that was because I wanted to buy a property outside of Vancouver. And in order to do that, I needed to earn money that was not based in Vancouver. And so I did very well for myself in Vancouver as a
Mm.
corporate photographer. I had the photography tourism business for 10 years before
Hmm.
COVID.
Hmm.
And I love that. We'll talk about that later maybe, but photography wise, it's a big market, you know, there's a lot
Yeah.
going on in Vancouver. I built a business. But then as I started applying for mortgages and finding houses, the bank would always ask me how I was going to earn money. And so over 2 years ago now, I decided to turn this SEO into a business. And SEO and building websites is something that I've also been doing for the last 20 years. Like all of the businesses that you read, with except for the petroleum engineering, I built the website, I did the SEO, I took the photos. Like
Hmm.
I've done all of this stuff for my own businesses for my whole life.
Right.
And so now I just thought, well, why don't I do it for other people? Because additionally, I would keep coming across websites that needed my help badly.
Hmm.
Either, you know, when I was just doing photography, I would think, those people need photos. Or maybe it was impossible to use the website. I couldn't reserve the campsite I was trying to reserve or book the yoga class or anything, you name it. Usually to do with travel. I
Hmm.
find in Vancouver, in a competitive industry, people's online presences are a little bit more modern. But anywhere outside of a major city, these people need help. And I thought that maybe there was an opportunity for me to pursue that as a career.
Isn't that interesting, hey?
Yeah. And so now
So,
that's what I've been doing.
yeah, so that you blended those two. So, okay, so you were primarily focused on sciences early on in your career, and then there was a pivot. to where photography started to really bubble up more
Yeah.
after that. If photography was sort of present through the whole thread. When did the camera come out?
The camera came out when I was, let's see, it was 2010, and I was dating somebody, and he was a hobby photographer. And he's basically the one that got me into photography as a profession. So
Really?
I would borrow his camera, and then he bought me a camera for one of my birthdays. I might have been 32,
Hmm.
around there. And
Okay.
he bought me a DSLR, like a prosumer, not a really great one. And I just started taking pictures. And then at one point, so at the time I was working as a personal trainer. So that's when I
Okay.
was still immersed in the fitness industry.
Yeah.
And so then at one point, my boyfriend's friend had asked us to photograph his sister's wedding, and they had no money. And so we did it for free. And we photographed this wedding together, and it went really well. And so then they started referring us to people because, of course, now
Oh,
they had all these photos. And that's when I decided to take classes.
okay. But you had an interest prior to that.
Yes, yes. I care about light and space. And of course, I have this thing where I love people. So sorry to back up too. I also care about technology, but, and I say that with hesitance now because if I look back at some of the photos that I took, in 2011, they were terrible. They were terrible.
Got to start somewhere.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I've always been very good at really close-up photos of plants. That's
Okay.
a great love. But no, I mean, you just have to put in the reps,
Hmm.
You just
Hmm.
have to.
Well, was this something you said light and space, this interest in
Hmm.
light and space.
Hmm.
What is it about that that intrigues you?
So it's funny. I used to always also, to add another thing, want to be or be interested in real estate because I love properties and I love architecture and design and, of course, light and space. And I found that as I progressed in my photography career, I started doing a lot of real estate and architectural photography, and it scratched that itch for me. So I didn't need to be a realtor
Hmm.
or, a property developer. Like I also find that realtors are subject to other people's schedules.
Hmm.
And I didn't want that. And
Hmm.
so as a photographer, I was able to go and see all of these beautiful properties, and uh, it's been amazing. Been an amazing experience to see all of those. And of course, there's a lot of light and space in nature as well,
Yeah.
but within a architectural capacity, I don't think most people get to see those places in person. And because I'm
Hmm.
so fascinated and enamored by beautiful design, I think it's given me I guess, an ability to see and capture those spaces,
Yeah.
which is what made me a good photographer.
Yeah, I'm hearing that. I was going to say that you are clearly inspired by beautiful things, beautiful design, beautiful
I think
spaces.
I also see beauty in places that other people don't too. Like sometimes it's about just like taking a small section of a giant scene and really, again, focusing on a small part.
Okay, so I have a question for you.
Okay.
What makes something beautiful from your perspective?
Oh my God, Michelle. Let me check my notes. No, what makes something beautiful? Okay, it could be a variety of things. So I used to teach photography for a while, um, and the answer that I would give to people is composition, lighting, contrast, angles, that kind of thing. So I like contrast, and I also like repetition. So patterns of things I like, and I also, I mean, the colors. I mean, for example. Just now, before I jumped on the call with you, I just got home and it has been winter in Nova Scotia. The snow has recently all melted,
Hmm.
and my garden area is covered with the dead leaves from the fall. And poking through the dead leaves are shoots. And I've got some flowers today. I've got little purple flowers and I've got some
Oh.
little white flowers. And I could probably have spent at least 20 minutes focusing on taking photos of these flowers.
Hmm.
The sun is coming through now.
I can see that actually.
Yeah, yeah, sorry.
Contrast, patterns, and colors.
Hmm. Yes. So even in alleys, I mean, there's also stories to be told, which I find beautiful. I am not a journalist.
Mm,
So of course you will see photojournalists going to war-torn areas and
hmm.
they're beautiful photos too,
Hmm. But that's
even
not.
though the story that they're telling is not
Hmm.
beautiful.
Hmm.
That is not my style of photography.
Hmm.
I probably could take beautiful photos, but I'm not drawn, I'm not pulled in
That's
that
not where you're, yeah,
direction.
not where you're pulled. You've spoken a
Yeah.
lot this conversation actually about where you're pulled. It feels
Oh.
like there's a lot of you respond to the pull or what we might call the call, right?
Hmm.
Respond to a call when something is inspiring you or when you have an idea or something. I sense that you're very it's easy for you and you're inspired or have the courage to take that leap, whether it's moving across the country to Nova Scotia or visiting your parents in Abbotsford and picking up and landing in
Deciding to move there.
very, so you're answering something. There's something that's pulling you. Have you been like that your whole life? Like, let's talk about pre-petroleum, pre-university days,
Hmm.
Tell me about life as a child for you. What did that look like?
It, well, I was an only child, so I certainly had to fill a lot of time myself. So I spent a lot of time reading. I would go to movies by myself. And yes, I did have friends,
Mm,
but my parents weren't really social. So it's not like they had friends
right.
and I would hang out with the friends of the parents.
Yeah.
It was my neighborhood kids that I would
Okay.
hang out
Mm-hmm.
with for the most part
Mm-hmm.
and spend a lot of time on my own. Like I would go on road trips with my parents. We would drive around, the States. We went to Mount St. Helens. We drove to BC, a variety of kind of localish places. And I remember having stacks of books, like back when I could read in the backseat of a car. And I would come home from a week-long trip and I would have a stack of books this tall
Yeah.
that I had read during our week-long vacation. So I guess I spent a lot of time with myself and also, I guess, learning about the world and reading stories
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
way. I was also my dad is a computer scientist, so that's where the
Oh,
whole technology
okay.
part probably comes from. Like I'm not
Uh-huh.
scared of computers. I grew up with them.
Right.
And my mom was just very lighthearted.
Mm. Oh, interesting.
So my dad is not lighthearted, but I think I have a bit of a mix
Yeah.
of the two of them.
Uh-huh.
So I was always expected to do really well in everything. Probably hence
Oh,
the feeling
interesting.
of failure when I didn't
Yeah.
make it
And
in
that
that
expectation
job.
wasn't just your own, it was coming from your parents as well. Is that what I'm hearing?
More so my dad, I would
Okay.
say. He was the perfectionist. He is a
Mm.
perfectionist to this day. Yes. It's pros and cons,
Well,
Like
it's
it's
interesting because sciences are an art that requires precision,
yes.
right? There's an exactness to sciences rather that art or photography or creativity, if you will, or broadcasting doesn't have.
It's true.
So it's easier. I remember in high school myself, I was so frustrated with English because it didn't matter what I wrote, I seemed to get a bad mark.
Oh no.
But sciences were easy because, 2 plus 2 is always four.
Right,
It's
right. There
always
is a
four.
right answer,
There
and
is
you either
always a right
have
answer. So
and
in
many
high
ways to get
school,
to that answer.
absolutely. So, this is bubbling up for me as I'm thinking about this. When you are wanting to when there's an expectation of performance or you're wanting to perform to a certain level for whatever reason, when you get into those exact sciences for the answer is always right. It's not
Yeah.
maybe,
And it's
right?
comforting.
It's very comforting, exactly, to know that you can predict the response, predict the result that you're going to get in sciences in that way. When you're studying and you're doing an experiment or what have you, you can get results that are anticipated.
You've just
Um,
triggered me to think about something about biology because in biology, I almost feel like it's kind of a mix
yeah,
between art and science because there are a lot of unknowns.
exactly. Yeah,
And I
it's again,
guess
it is definitely because it's got so much, and biology was not the science for me personally. So it's interesting to think about how this precision has served you. It moved you into the sciences, which allowed you then to move into now. You said you like focus when that focus is structured and not necessarily something you create, but it's something that you appreciate and value.
absolutely.
You said that
Absolutely.
earlier.
Yeah.
What does that mean for you in your work today? I'm curious. How did that love of that seeking of structure, if you will, and the
hmm
focus, how did
hmm
that lead you to what you're doing now?
Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about photography and SEO because
Perfect.
with photography, I feel like it is it involves the technology and like you just said, there's a lot more leniency in
Yeah,
terms of the precision because
right,
you can it, you don't have to there's no right answer with
right.
photography, you
Yeah.
know? If 100 different people took the same photos of the same thing, you'd get 100 different photos,
Beauty's
which
and beauty's in the eye of the beholder as well.
I
And
love that. I love that
mm,
so much. There's no right
mm-hmm,
photo,
mm-hmm,
you know?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so I love
Aw.
that flexibility.
Mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm.
think I need that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's funny, and I will get back to the SEO part too, but I've struggled my whole life with my love for adventure and my love for stability. And
Mm-hmm,
I have fought with myself repeatedly in every different way about where is this balance.
mm-hmm.
And I feel like the same thing is true with photography and SEO. I mean, I you can have a great photo, but somebody else can have a great photo as well and have it be totally different. You can do you can create a website for somebody and there can be a completely different website that is also beautiful and perfect.
Yeah.
Or or maybe every website has its own little versions of imperfections. To me, there's actually quite a parallel between photography and website SEO stuff. Like it sounds a little bit less artistic and creative, but to me, it's actually quite artistic and creative, and technological. Like I get to solve problems, and I love solving problems, and I love this is where I'm getting off topic, and I don't
No, it's
remember the
perfect.
question anymore.
You love solving problems. Keep
What am
going.
I answering? Okay. Yeah, I mean, I love that you can look at a website or somebody's business. And yes, I have tools and I evaluate the same things. And, there's the basics that you need to hit, like
Hmm.
with photography. If you're taking pictures of uh, a person. You want to make sure that they're in focus and that their eyes are bright. And like there's certain things that
Yeah,
you definitely need to have core elements of a good photo, core elements of a good website. But beyond
right,
that,
right.
you can express yourself, and then it's very specific to the person or business.
So there's a solid foundation or structure that you can lean on and then build your creativity on that. Is that what I'm
Mhm.
hearing?
I believe that to be true. Yes.
Hmm.
And I also feel that way about life. Sorry to cut you off.
No, that's exactly where I was headed.
Yeah.
So this idea that there's a foundation or structure underneath, like what you said earlier, you appreciate having that structure or foundation that you can lean on. That's not the language you used earlier, but you referred to loving that structure, not
hmm
creating it for yourself, but having it in place for you. And
hmm
what I'm hearing is whether it's through the sciences or whether it's through photography or whether it's through SEO and website design, there's a structure, a foundational structure that will provide you, what I'm hearing is provide you with the foundation that makes sure that all the basics are in place. And from there, your creativity gets to flourish
Yes.
freely. Is that what I'm
Yeah.
hearing?
I think you nailed it.
Well,
I
there's this,
think,
right? It's this contrast. And you said, interestingly, there's the contrast you talked about. I love contrast.
yes,
You said earlier, you're talking about photography, but here's that word again.
you're so good.
And patterns. You said you love contrast, patterns, and colors, right? So there's the contrast again that you actually have learned how to navigate and create exceptional outcomes from because that contrast serves you really well because you're seeking it,
Yeah,
right?
it's true. It's true.
And the
Yeah,
patterns are the things that give you that sense of
like
stability,
structure.
right?
Hmm.
Very, very interesting. What's coming
God,
up for you?
you're good. I'm amazed. I mean, I know you're writing things down occasionally, but a very active listener, and I'm
Mm.
very impressed at
Oh,
how
thank you.
you've been able to basically thread together all the things that I've said to do with my life, my history,
Mm.
and my current business as well. Like it's amazing.
Well,
And you're
there's
right.
an
You're right.
yeah. Well, there's another piece that we haven't brought in yet, and that's the community piece, right? The people piece.
Ah,
So there's
yes.
this we see this piece, but there's this also this third angle of
Hmm.
community people, and you know that's been present throughout your journey is that how you're always in service of people or providing services to people, whether it's fitness, photography, website design, what have you.
Hmm.
You're always, since your science days, you've been more focused on the retreats, etc., people and building community. You also said, which I find really interesting, they're temporal. The communities that you build are
Mm,
temporal. And I would
right.
love, because we haven't really explored that fully yet, and I would love you to talk a little bit more about what that means
Hmm.
and why that's important to you.
Hmm. I realized that I like projects. I'm a project person. I love them. I love things that have a beginning, a middle, and an end.
There you go.
And it took me decades to learn that.
Hmm.
I think certainly in my business building days, I would just say yes to everything. Like when you're starting off in
Hmm.
business, well, I will keep it about myself, photography and personal training. Like you just say yes to all the requests because
Yeah.
I was still figuring out what I wanted to focus on, who I liked working with, what hours I wanted to keep. You're not going to become an event photographer if you don't like staying up late,
Right.
for example.
Right. Although some people
And
might and not think about that accidentally
well,
and
you
then
do
think,
that
what
at the
happened to
beginning.
me? Yeah.
Yeah. And
Right.
then over time,
Yeah.
you
Hmm.
you improve and then get to choose. And so with photography, um, obviously the projects are quite short. So that's a highly temporal event, except you have ongoing relationships with people. So, you'd have an event, flurry of activity, deliver, wrap, get
Hmm.
paid next. And I like that. That works for me. It works for
Hmm.
me a lot.
Hmm.
Uh, and, in terms of the retreat,
That's interesting.
I wanted to, like, I envisioned myself being a retreat holder. And I actually had this very pivotal breathwork session with a woman at the beginning of 2022. And it became very obvious to me that I needed to hold retreats, plural. And so I launched into retreat mode. I got my yoga teacher training. I was going to be a movement practitioner, and photographer because I can take beautiful photos. And this was going to be my thing. I thought this is the thing I'm going to do because my tourism business had closed down, so I had
Mm.
room for a new endeavor.
Hmm.
So I
A new
planned the retreat,
project.
a new project, exactly. It was great. I had a lot of energy for it.
Mm.
And then the retreat happened. And Michelle, have you ever hosted a retreat?
I have not hosted retreat.
Okay. Um, it's a lot of work. And I don't
Imagine.
mind work. I don't
Hmm.
mind work. But when it was over, I was not inspired to plan another one.
Uh,
I had all the people, I had venues, I
hmm.
had the structure, I built the structure,
Hmm.
and I just didn't feel like it.
What
I didn't
happened?
know
What did you
why.
learn?
What did I learn? It there were there were people, of course, it all comes down to people. There were people that the energy, I wasn't 100% confident that I wanted to engage with the level of energy they needed
Mm-hmm.
from me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there had only been one person at the retreat who needed that, and it was fine. Everybody had a great time. But imagine if there had been more than one person.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I realized that I wasn't prepared to facilitate, I didn't have enough energy to manage if there had been more than one
Oh, that's
person.
interesting. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, probably what happened was because it was my first retreat, I said yes and I was inclusive. And I probably, I don't know. I can't say that I shouldn't have been because I don't
You
want to
wouldn't?
should on myself kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah.
But it was a lot.
Yeah. Well, you're really touching on, I think you're touching on a really important thing here, whether it's in a retreat or whether it's a client engagement or whether it's a coworker or someone we hire. Um, the energy is the energy that the individual brings to the environment or to the space is such an important part of the
Hmm.
whole picture. And we often discount how our own energy, whether it's not that there's anything wrong with their energy, that it just not may not be a match
Hmm.
for ours.
Yeah.
And that kind of energy can be really draining unintentionally, but it
Yeah.
can be really draining. And
Yeah.
probably for both parties because that match is not there, right? So it requires too much.
Yeah. It's an interesting one because I I didn't have to include that person.
Mm,
Um, at the risk of going into too many
yeah.
details, I chose to welcome that
Hmm.
person, and they were
Hmm.
grateful and had a great time.
Hmm.
And perhaps in hindsight, upon reflection, was it worth the amount of energy that I
Hmm.
received for
Hmm.
her participation,
Right.
like financially?
Hmm.
Um, we'll never know.
Right.
And there was another component, which
Mm.
was I had technological issues,
Hmm. Mm.
and I ended up having to put in about 40 extra hours of work because my payment platform
Oh.
destroyed my websites.
Oh, good heavens. Okay. Yeah. Growing pains.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
So,
so this particular project, the retreats, we'll call it a project, was a learning. It brought forward some learning for you around the kind of relationships you want, the kind of projects you want to engage in. There was
hmm
some, and the energy was a big piece there, really connecting with what I'm hearing is, regardless, irrespective of the details, what I'm hearing is the energy of the project itself, whatever the energy is that is wrapping that project, if you will. That's an important part of what you're
yes,
tuning into and what you need and what energizes you, right? You're much more
yes,
conscious of that. Is that what I'm hearing?
yes, yes. And I will say, though, that I'm extraordinarily pleased with how it went.
Yeah.
I planned that retreat for myself. I
Mm,
didn't consider, I'm like, I'm not going to poll people and ask what they want. I am basically going to plan a retreat that I would want to go on. And maybe we all do that. Maybe that's not
mm,
rocket science. But it really was. And I haven't ruled out planning a retreat in the future,
yeah. Yeah.
but my vision of having like monthly retreats
Maybe not.
did not materialize.
You touched on something really important. You planned, I love this because it's actually something I say to a lot of my clients as well, is
Okay.
you planned a retreat that you would want to attend.
Hmm.
And the important part in that is whether it's a website you're developing, a photograph that you're putting up, a fracking exercise that the results of that, whatever it is, it's so important that you are in love with the product that you're putting
Hmm.
out.
Hmm.
You've got to love what you're putting out. So I always say it's so, fall in love with your own work.
Mm,
And yes, it's important to be um, aware of the value it brings to others and make sure that that value is being experienced by them. But if you are building it for them and it becomes a logical exercise as opposed to an emotional one, where
hmm.
you're removing your own emotion, it doesn't matter what I want or it doesn't matter what I think is important. It only matters what they think is important. That's not a sustainable model for any long-term
No.
success, right? And I think a lot of people do that. They make the mistake
Yeah.
of building something for others
Yeah.
instead of building it for both,
Yeah.
right? Yes, for others and for self.
It's been interesting because on one hand, I was so sure in January of that year that this was going to be the thing I do next.
Right.
And I did have to come to terms with the fact that I didn't feel like planning more retreats and why not? Like I had to really dive into that
Mm-hmm.
and give it some serious attention because I was sure, and I didn't want to, like petroleum, I didn't want to just
Yeah,
abandon it.
right.
Like, is abandoning it the right thing? I've put in a lot of work.
Doesn't well if it's not the right thing, I think abandoning is the best possible thing, to be honest. um because if it's not fulfilling you, cut your
Hmm.
losses, move on, find something that is. And maybe a full and complete abandonment isn't always the best strategy. Pivoting or shifting or slightly
Yeah.
changing what you're doing, sure, that can work really well as well. The
Yeah.
thing you want to abandon is the thing you don't want and to be repeated.
Right. True.
Right, that's the key.
True. I know I call it like climbing the right ladder. Like, are you climbing the right
Yeah,
ladder?
yeah,
And if you're
exactly.
not, then stop climbing.
Well, this is, it's something that we see a lot in certainly in my work with differentiation. I see that a lot. Are you climbing the right ladder? And sometimes just moving over to a different ladder, same climb, different ladder, can make all the difference. Building something that you love or honoring what it is that's important to you is a really important part of the journey. And I think a lot of people discount that,
Yeah.
don't really think about it.
Yeah. It's funny. I mean, I've had a lot of different projects over the years, and every now and then I wonder if I left any of them too soon. But I do think that there's a thread throughout all of them. I mean, the very worst, I'm the thread.
Well, your passions have come through. The threads are the things that
Yeah.
continue to serve, right? So whether it's I'm looking back at all my notes and I'm thinking, your focused purpose or structure, something that's a temporal project, something that has a finished a start and a clear finish, something that's supported by a good foundation, your love of beauty, the contrast and patterns that you find beautiful. That's
Yeah.
so important. Like those are huge. And this piece around the people and building communities of people that are a part of your adventure, not necessarily the adventure, but a part of your adventure
It's true.
as and joining you.
You know
Yeah.
what's interesting? I just thought of that. So there are people that I've known for decades, and maybe I trained them when I was a
Uh-huh.
personal trainer,
Uh-huh.
and then I switched
Oh,
careers, and then they
right.
hired me as a photographer, and then now I'm working on their websites. Like it's amazing to me how it's the connections with people
Yeah.
that mean more than whatever thing I might be doing at the moment.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like you find someone you like and you support them in whatever they're doing.
And clearly you're very equipped to do that. Right? What I mean by that, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm actually being, your style is very much, you're so grounded in your technical training from those early years. And of course, your family upbringing as well. You've got a
Hmm.
very strong technical foundation, so you can enter into any technology or technological or sciences oriented area very
Hmm.
comfortably.
Yeah.
And that's not a scary area for you. And then, of course, you've got the art side of things, whether it's photography or retreats or building this um, uh, experience, the art of the experience, if you will. So
Yeah.
it feels to me like so much of your skills are in service of creating this outcome for people that's based in
Hmm.
these two areas, as we started out with either technology petroleum engineering or broadcasting. Here we find ourselves again, right? You're like, yeah,
Yeah.
I can do both. I can do
Yeah,
both. And you clearly love both, which is
I
unique.
do. It's funny.
Yeah.
I would never, you just mentioned that I'm comfortable, and I am. I am very comfortable with technology. Am I the best at anything? No, I
Hmm.
don't.
Hmm.
In fact, I think that it's better, or at least the way I choose to be is as like I'm still learning. I'm still learning
Yeah.
about technology. Think technology changes all the time, so you
Yeah.
have to stay current. But I know enough to improve people's
Mm. Yeah.
experience.
Right.
Um, yeah, I think the balance for me has been about focusing more than my clients, but not like PhD level
Hmm.
web development,
Hmm.
if that makes sense. So I like to think of myself as a bridge. I'm a
Hmm.
bridge between
Hmm.
people that don't know anything about technology,
Hmm.
um, and the technology itself.
Right. Yeah. And there's always an adventure. Your love of travel
Hmm.
is what's the stimulating the next adventure. It's I see that as a stimulus for you,
Hmm.
right?
I went hiking with my friend last summer in the Alps,
Mm.
and we had a 5 week adventure
Mhm.
planned. And it was like I had monthly clients at that time. And so it was important to plan
Yeah.
full days of work
Right.
while we were
Yeah.
on the road.
Hmm.
And so I've built like a lifestyle business.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
funny. So I was looking at what you do and the clients that you work with, and I was thinking to myself, like, am I aspiring to be this 7 figure, 8 figure business? And I don't think that I do. I think
Hmm.
I like the balance. I'm sure you have advice and you know probably some hacks
You
as
could still
to
have balance with seven figures, you know.
maybe we should talk about that.
Just saying.
Right.
Um,
Do you have balance?
I have a fair bit of balance, yes.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, it's the key is knowing what you want your life to look like and where
Hmm.
your expertise is most serving that. It's serving your life, it's serving your clients, it's serving the value that you're bringing to the table. But it's an ecosystem. I don't see any of it as one independent piece. As soon as you
No.
start seeing your work and your life and your family and you start putting everything in boxes instead of seeing it as an ecosystem it's much more so like that now, right? This was
Hmm.
less so the case 50 years ago.
Yeah.
It was very, very different back then. But
Yeah.
today, the ecosystem and the blending of our just seeing our life as one thing is a much, much healthier way when there is a sense of freedom and a sense of autonomy and a sense of balance. Whatever that
Absolutely.
balance, like work-life balance, is not necessarily a thing.
Yeah.
It depends on how you want to frame that for yourself. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's a whole other conversation that we could go down, but this has been such a joy getting to know you again.
Likewise, Michelle. We'll have to have some more conversations to
I
figure
know it's
out
been fun.
where we cross paths.
Exactly. We still haven't figured that out, but nonetheless, as we're winding up now, Suzanne, here you are from your beautiful home in Nova Scotia.
Yes.
Where do you see your next adventure? What's the call or what's the pull for you as you think about the future?
Interestingly, I am, owning a house on the water has been
Mm.
such a dream of mine for so long. I'm actually immersing myself in
Nice.
this project. I am absolutely loving the idea. Spring is here. I'm planning to build a boardwalk through the forest.
Uh,
I have projects around the house. I mean, if you look closely, you'll see some stuff behind me. So this is the project. It's
yeah.
once I get my house, I would
Mm.
say more ready for visitors, then the idea will be to travel. So once I've built my
Hmm.
stability, my
Yeah.
stable little structure, then I will focus more on where I can go from there.
Nice.
But yeah, right now I'm in the process of making sure that my client roster is full and
Hmm.
we're near capacity now, which is
Nice.
exciting. And so I feel like I've actually done pretty well in reaching this balance
Nice.
of structure and
Beautiful.
adventure. Yeah.
All righty.
You
So
should
for
come
those
visit.
people, I
Yeah.
just may do that. Thank you
Okay.
for the invitation. For those people who would like to help you top up and get
Mhm.
to capacity, perhaps, where
Yeah.
might they be able to find you?
So I am at digitaloptimist.ca is my website, and I do these free 5-minute SEO audits on people's websites, and I do check out the online presence off page as well, and I love doing it. I love offering
Mm.
people just sort of the next three things they could do to improve their website traffic. So I love doing those. So whether or not it leads to business, I don't even care. I would rather just be helpful.
Oh my gosh, well,
Not
that is
rather, but
happy to be helpful.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I
for
want to
those,
improve
yeah.
the internet
Right.
experience for the
Oh,
world.
oh, wow. Let's just finish on that.
Okay. Sorry.
Suzanne wants to improve the internet experience for the world. That is a phenomenal gift. Thank you. Um, thank you for today. Thank you for joining us. We'll
Thank you
talk
so
again.
much, Michelle.
Okay. Bye for now.